The bustling city streets pulsed with life, a stark contrast to the solitary figure huddled in the shadows of a towering skyscraper. Emily, her clothes worn and tattered, extended a trembling hand to passers-by, her eyes pleading for a morsel of kindness in a world that seemed to have forgotten her. Little did she know that fate was about to deal her an extraordinary hand. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Emily's gaze fell upon an object that would change her life forever. There, nestled against an overflowing trash can, sat an expensive leather suitcase, its presence an anomaly in her world of discarded scraps and forgotten dreams. With trembling fingers, she reached for the case, her heart pounding in her chest. The zipper gave way easily, revealing stacks of crisp bills, more money than she had ever seen in her life. For a moment, Emily's world stood still. This could be her ticket out of poverty, a chance at a new life. But as quickly as the thought came, it vanished. This wasn't her money. Someone out there was probably desperate to find it. With a heavy sigh, Emily closed the suitcase and looked around, hoping to spot its owner. As if summoned by her thoughts, a man appeared, his expensive suit a stark contrast to Emily's ragged attire. His eyes, filled with a mixture of relief and suspicion, landed on the suitcase in Emily's hands. "Is that mine?" he asked, his voice trembling. Emily nodded, extending the case towards him. "I found it. I didn't take anything." The man, introducing himself as Lucas, was visibly moved by her honesty. His eyes, previously clouded with worry, now shimmered with unshed tears. In that moment, a connection formed between them, one that would alter both their destinies in ways neither could have imagined. The cacophony of car horns and hurried footsteps created a symphony of urban life around Emily as she sat at her usual spot on the busy street corner. Her weathered cardboard sign, bearing the simple plea "Hungry, please help," rested against her legs. The smell of exhaust fumes and nearby food carts mingled in the air, a bittersweet reminder of the life she once knew and the harsh reality she now faced. Emily's azure eyes, still bright despite the hardships she'd endured, scanned the faces of those passing by. Some averted their gaze, uncomfortable with the stark reminder of society's inequalities. Others seemed lost in their own worlds, eyes glued to their smartphones, oblivious to the struggling woman before them. Yet, Emily harbored no resentment. She understood their distractions, their own battles they might be fighting behind closed doors. As the day wore on, Emily's stomach growled, a painful reminder of her last meal, a half-eaten sandwich she'd found in a nearby dumpster the previous night. She closed her eyes, trying to summon the strength to endure another day of hunger and invisibility. Just as she was about to call it a day and seek shelter for the night, something caught her eye. Near an overflowing trash can, partially hidden by discarded newspapers, sat an expensive leather suitcase. Emily blinked, wondering if her hunger-induced delirium was playing tricks on her. Curiosity got the better of her. She approached the suitcase, looking around to see if anyone was coming to claim it. The street remained indifferent to her movements, the flow of pedestrians uninterrupted. With trembling hands, she reached for the zipper, half expecting it to be locked. To her surprise, it opened easily. Emily's breath caught in her throat as she peered inside. Stacks of crisp bills filled the suitcase, more money than she had ever seen in her life. For a moment, time stood still. The noise of the city faded away, leaving only the thunderous beating of her heart. A whirlwind of thoughts raced through her mind. This money could change everything. She could find a place to live, buy food, maybe even start a new life. But as quickly as these thoughts came, they were replaced by a nagging sense of right and wrong. This wasn't her money. Someone out there was probably desperate to find it. Emily's internal struggle was interrupted by the sound of hurried footsteps approaching. She looked up to see a middle-aged man in an impeccable suit, his face etched with worry. His eyes darted around frantically until they landed on Emily and the suitcase at her feet. Is that my suitcase?" he asked, his voice a mixture of hope and suspicion. Emily nodded, closing the suitcase and holding it out to him. "I found it here." "I didn't take anything," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The man, who introduced himself as Lucas, quickly inspected the contents of the suitcase. His tense shoulders relaxed as he confirmed everything was intact. He looked at Emily, his eyes now filled with a mixture of gratitude and curiosity. "You could have walked away with this," Lucas said, his tone softer now. "Why didn't you?" Emily's response was simple but sincere. "It wouldn't be right, and it wouldn't bring real happiness, knowing it belongs to someone else." Lucas studied her intently, as if seeing something in her that she couldn't see herself. "An honest person like you is rare these days," he mused. "What's your name?" "Emily," she replied, curious about the well-dressed man's sudden interest. Little did Emily know that this chance encounter, born from a simple act of honesty, was about to change the course of both their lives in ways neither could have imagined. Lucas stood there, his eyes fixed on Emily, a mixture of admiration and contemplation evident in his gaze. The bustling city around them seemed to fade into the background as an idea began to form in his mind. Emily, still unsure of what to expect, shifted uncomfortably under his scrutiny. "Emily," Lucas began, his voice taking on a serious tone, "I'd like to make you an unusual proposal." He paused, as if weighing his words carefully. "I'm terminally ill. I've spent my life accumulating wealth, but what I really need now, money can't buy." Emily's eyes widened, taken aback by this unexpected revelation. She remained silent, allowing Lucas to continue. "Your honesty has touched me deeply," he went on. "I'd like you to consider marrying me. I don't want to leave my wealth to those who don't need it. And your integrity shows that you would do the right thing with my inheritance." The proposal hung in the air between them, as shocking as a bolt of lightning on a clear day. Emily's mind reeled, trying to process the enormity of what Lucas was suggesting. Marriage? Inheritance? It all seemed so surreal, like a plot from one of those romantic movies she used to watch in her previous life. For a moment, Emily was tempted. The promise of financial security, of never having to worry about her next meal or where she would sleep, was alluring. But as she looked into Lucas's eyes, she saw something beyond the offer of money, a profound loneliness, a desperation for genuine human connection. Emily took a deep breath, steeling herself for what she was about to say. "Mr. Lucas," she began, her voice soft but firm, "I'm deeply moved by your offer, but I can't marry you for your money. It wouldn't be right." Lucas's face fell, a mix of disappointment and understanding crossing his features. But before he could respond, Emily continued. "However, if you're willing, I'd like to help you in another way. You said you're ill, perhaps I could care for you during your illness? And instead of leaving your wealth to me, why not use it to help others in need?" Lucas stared at her, astonished. Here was a woman who had nothing, yet she was rejecting wealth and instead offering her time and care. It was a level of selflessness he had rarely encountered in his life of privilege. You would do that?" he asked, his voice thick with emotion. "Care for a stranger, and ask for nothing in return?" Emily nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "Everyone deserves compassion, Mr. Lucas, and using your wealth to help others, well, that would be a legacy worth leaving." Lucas felt something stir within him, a mixture of admiration, gratitude, and a glimmer of hope he hadn't felt in a long time. Without warning, tears began to well up in his eyes. "Emily," he said, his voice cracking, "you are an extraordinary person. Most people wouldn't have your integrity or your compassion." He wiped his eyes, composing himself before continuing. "I accept your counter-proposal, but I want to make it clear that your request to help those in need will be fulfilled. And I would be honored to have you in my life, even if not as my wife." Emily felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had stayed true to her principles, and in doing so, had perhaps found a way to make a real difference in the world. "Thank you, Mr. Lucas," she said softly. "I promise I'll do my best to help you, and to ensure your legacy is one of kindness and generosity." As they stood there on that busy street corner, an unlikely pair brought together by chance and honesty. Neither Emily nor Lucas could have predicted the journey that lay ahead of them, a journey that would test their resolve, challenge their beliefs, and ultimately transform both their lives in profound and unexpected ways. The city continued its ceaseless rhythm around them, oblivious to the extraordinary pact that had just been made. For Emily and Lucas, however, the world had shifted on its axis. They were about to embark on an adventure that would redefine their understanding of wealth, compassion, and the true meaning of a life well lived. As the sun dipped below the city's skyline, casting long shadows across the bustling streets, Lucas turned to Emily with a gentle smile. "I know this might seem sudden, but would you join me for dinner? There's a little pizzeria around the corner that I've always wanted to try." Emily hesitated, her eyes darting down to her tattered clothes. I'm not sure I'd fit in at a restaurant," she murmured. Self-consciousness etched across her face. Lucas's eyes softened with understanding. "Emily, your worth isn't determined by what you wear. Please, allow me to treat you to a meal. Consider it a thank you for your honesty and kindness." With a tentative nod, Emily agreed, and they set off towards the pizzeria. As they walked, the aroma of freshly baked dough and melted cheese wafted through the air, causing Emily's stomach to growl audibly. She blushed. But Lucas pretended not to notice, engaging her in light conversation about the neighborhood instead. The pizzeria was a cozy establishment, with checkered tablecloths and the warm glow of Edison bulbs creating an inviting atmosphere. As they entered, Emily couldn't help but feel out of place, acutely aware of the stares from other patrons. However, Lucas guided her to a quiet corner booth with a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Order whatever you'd like," Lucas encouraged as they perused the menu. Emily's eyes widened at the variety of toppings and combinations available. It had been so long since she'd had a proper meal, let alone the luxury of choice. As they waited for their order, an awkward silence settled between them. Lucas cleared his throat, his fingers nervously tapping on the table. "Emily, I want you to know how much your actions today have meant to me. In my world, it's rare to encounter such genuine kindness." Emily's cheeks flushed at the compliment. "I just did what I thought was right," she replied softly. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of their pizza, a steaming masterpiece of cheese, vegetables, and savory meats. Emily's eyes grew wide as the waiter set the dish before them, the tantalizing aroma making her mouth water. As they began to eat, the initial awkwardness melted away. Between bites of the delicious pizza, Lucas opened up about his life, his illness, and the loneliness that had become his constant companion. "I've achieved everything I thought I wanted in life," he confessed, his voice tinged with sadness. "But now, facing my own mortality, I realize how empty it all is without genuine connections." Emily listened intently, her heart aching for the man before her. Despite his wealth and success, Lucas seemed just as lost and alone as she had felt on the streets. As the evening wore on, their conversation flowed more freely. They shared stories of their pasts, their dreams, and their fears. Emily found herself opening up about her life on the streets, the daily struggles and small victories that had shaped her worldview. Lucas listened with rapt attention, his admiration for Emily growing with each passing moment. Here was a woman who had faced unimaginable hardships yet maintained her integrity and compassion. In her, he saw a strength and resilience that he had long forgotten existed. As they finished their meal, both Emily and Lucas felt a shift in their relationship. What had begun as a chance encounter had blossomed into something more, a genuine connection built on mutual respect and understanding. "Emily," Lucas said as they prepared to leave the pizzeria, "I want to thank you again for everything. Your kindness and honesty, it's exactly what I've been missing in my life. I know we've only just met, but I feel like you've given me a new perspective on what truly matters." Emily smiled, touched by his words. "Thank you, Lucas, this evening. It's meant more to me than you could know." As they stepped out into the cool night air, both felt a sense of anticipation for what the future might hold. Their unlikely friendship, born from a simple act of honesty, had the potential to change both their lives in profound ways. Little did they know, their journey together was only just beginning. The challenges that lay ahead would test their newfound bond, push them to their limits, and ultimately reveal the true power of compassion and human connection. Dear viewers, if you've been moved by Emily and Lucas's story so far, we invite you to join us on this incredible journey. By subscribing to our channel, you'll ensure you don't miss a single moment of their inspiring tale. Your support motivates us to continue bringing these touching stories to life. So why wait? Hit that subscribe button now and be part of something truly special. Together, let's explore the depths of human kindness and the transformative power of unexpected friendships. As the days passed, Emily found herself settling into a routine at Lucas's spacious penthouse apartment. The stark contrast between her previous life on the streets and her current surroundings was not lost on her, but she remained focused on her promise to care for Lucas during his illness. One evening, as they sat in the living room, watching the city lights twinkle below, Lucas turned to Emily with a serious expression. "Emily, there's something I need to tell you," he began, his voice heavy with emotion. "My condition is worsening. The doctors, they say I haven't found a compatible bone marrow donor yet." Emily listened intently, her heart sinking at the gravity of Lucas's words. She reached out and took his hand, offering silent support as he continued. "Without a bone marrow transplant, the doctors can't help me anymore. I have, at most, another month to live." The weight of his revelation hung in the air between them. Emily felt a surge of emotions, sadness, fear, and an overwhelming desire to help. But as the possibility of donating her own bone marrow crossed her mind, she found herself hesitating. "Lucas, I don't know what to say," Emily stammered, her mind racing. The idea of undergoing a medical procedure, even to save Lucas's life, filled her with anxiety. She was afraid of the risks, the pain, and the unknown consequences of such a significant decision. As Emily grappled with her internal conflict, a memory from her past surfaced, one that she had buried deep within her psyche for years. She was 16 again, standing on the banks of a swift-moving river. The day had started as a carefree adventure with friends, but it had quickly turned into a nightmare. Emily had slipped on a mossy rock, plunging into the icy water. The current had swept her away, her lungs burning as she fought to keep her head above water. Just when she thought all hope was lost, a hand had grabbed her, pulling her to safety. Through her blurred vision, she had seen a stranger, a middle-aged man who had been fishing nearby. He had risked his own life to save hers, diving into the treacherous waters without hesitation. But the rescue had come at a terrible cost. As Emily coughed up water on the riverbank, she had watched in horror as her savior was pulled under by the current. Despite the frantic efforts of onlookers, the man had never resurfaced. The memory of that day had haunted Emily for years. She had lived with a mixture of immense gratitude and crushing guilt. Someone had sacrificed their life so that she could live, and she had never even known his name. As Emily refocused on the present, looking at Lucas's weary face, she felt a shift within herself. The parallels between her past and present situation were undeniable. Once again, she found herself in a position where she could potentially save a life, but this time she had the power to choose. "Lucas," Emily said softly, her voice steadier than she felt, "I want to get tested to see if I'm a compatible donor." Lucas's eyes widened in surprise. "Emily, no, I can't ask that of you. It's too much." But Emily shook her head, a determined look in her eyes. "You're not asking. I'm offering. Years ago, a stranger saved my life at the cost of his own. I've carried that with me every day since. Now I have the chance to pay it forward, to give you the same second chance at life that I was given." As she spoke, Emily felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. The decision felt right, as if she was fulfilling a long overdue promise to the universe. "Are you sure about this?" Lucas asked, his voice thick with emotion. Emily nodded, squeezing his hand. "I am. We don't know if I'll be a match, but I want to try. It's not just about the medical risks, Lucas, it's about continuing the legacy of compassion and sacrifice that once saved me." Tears welled up in Lucas's eyes as he pulled Emily into a tight embrace. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "Thank you for giving me hope." As they held each other, both Emily and Lucas felt a profound sense of connection. Their journey together had taken an unexpected turn, but it had also revealed the depth of their friendship and the strength of the human spirit. The next morning, Emily accompanied Lucas to the hospital for the compatibility test. As they waited for the results, Emily reflected on the twists of fate that had brought her to this moment. From a homeless woman on the streets to potentially saving the life of a man she now considered a dear friend, her life had transformed in ways she never could have imagined. The doctor's voice cut through her thoughts. "Emily," he said, a hint of excitement in his tone, "the results are in. You're a compatible donor." The news hit them both like a tidal wave of emotion. Lucas broke down in tears of relief and gratitude, while Emily felt a mix of joy and trepidation. The road ahead would be challenging, but she was ready to face it. As they left the hospital, plans already in motion for the upcoming procedure, Emily and Lucas shared a look of understanding. Whatever the outcome, they would face it together. Their unlikely friendship, born from a simple act of honesty, had blossomed into something profound, a bond that had the power to defy death itself. Little did they know the greatest challenges of their journey were yet to come, but with their newfound strength and unity, Emily and Lucas were prepared to face whatever lay ahead, one step at a time. Dear viewers, if Emily and Lucas's story has touched your heart, we'd love to hear from you. Their journey of compassion, sacrifice, and unexpected friendship is just one of many inspiring tales we have to share. If you've enjoyed this story and would like to hear more like it, please leave a comment with the number 1 below. Thank you for being part of our community of storytellers and story lovers. The day of the bone marrow transplant arrived with a mixture of hope and trepidation. Emily and Lucas were admitted to the hospital, their rooms adjacent to one another. As they were prepped for their respective procedures, they shared a final moment together. "Emily," Lucas said, his voice trembling, "I can't thank you enough for what you're doing. Whatever happens, know that you've already given me more than I could have ever hoped for." Emily squeezed his hand, fighting back tears. "We're in this together, Lucas. I'll see you on the other side." As Emily was wheeled into the operating room, the gravity of the situation hit her. The sterile environment, the beeping machines, and the masked faces of the medical team were a stark reminder of the risks involved. She closed her eyes, taking deep breaths to calm her racing heart. Dr. Winston, the lead surgeon, approached Emily with a reassuring smile. "Are you ready, Emily? We'll take good care of you." Emily nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm ready. Please just make sure Lucas is okay." The anesthesia began to take effect, and Emily's world faded to black. Hours passed as the surgical team worked diligently to extract the necessary bone marrow. In the adjacent operating room, Lucas underwent the delicate procedure to receive the life-saving donation. As Emily slowly regained consciousness in the recovery room, her first thought was of Lucas. "How is he?" she asked groggily to the nurse checking her vitals. "The transplant was successful," the nurse replied with a smile. "Mr. Lucas is still in recovery, but the initial signs are positive." Relief washed over Emily, but it was short-lived. Just as she was about to drift back to sleep, alarms began blaring from Lucas's room. The once quiet recovery ward erupted into a flurry of activity as medical staff rushed to his aid. "BP's dropping," a voice called out. "We need to stabilize him now." Emily's heart raced as she strained to hear what was happening. The next few hours were a blur of anxiety and fear as Lucas fought for his life. Emily, still weak from her own procedure, could do nothing but wait and pray. As dawn broke, Dr. Winston entered Emily's room, his face etched with fatigue. "Emily," he began, his tone grave, "Lucas experienced some complications during the night. We've managed to stabilize him, but he slipped into a coma. The next 48 hours will be critical." The news hit Emily like a physical blow. She had done everything she could to save Lucas, but it might not be enough. As she struggled to process the information, a new challenge emerged. Lucas's family, who had been notified of his condition, arrived at the hospital. Led by his mother, Eloise, they swept into the ward with an air of hostility. "Where is she?" Eloise demanded, her eyes scanning the room until they landed on Emily. "What have you done to my son?" Emily, still groggy and in pain, was taken aback by the accusation. I was trying to help him," she stammered. Eloise's eyes narrowed. "Help him? By putting him in a coma. We know all about you, you homeless gold digger. You manipulated Lucas when he was vulnerable, and now look what's happened." The commotion drew the attention of the hospital staff, who quickly intervened. Dr. Winston stepped in, attempting to defuse the situation. "Miss Eloise, please." Emily voluntarily donated her bone marrow to try and save Lucas's life. The complications were an unfortunate risk of the procedure, not a result of any wrongdoing on her part. But Eloise was inconsolable. "I don't believe it for a second. This woman appears out of nowhere. And suddenly Lucas is leaving her everything, and now he's fighting for his life. It's too convenient. We'll be pressing charges for elder abuse and manipulation." Emily felt as if the room was spinning. The accusation of manipulating Lucas for his money was so far from the truth it was almost laughable. But the threat of legal action was terrifying. She had only wanted to help, to repay the kindness that had once saved her own life. How had it all gone so wrong? As Eloise and the family continued their tirade, Emily retreated into herself. The physical pain of her procedure paled in comparison to the emotional anguish she now felt. She had risked everything to save Lucas, and now she might lose not only him but her freedom as well. In the midst of the chaos, a gentle hand touched her arm. It was Sarah, one of the nurses who had been caring for her. "Don't you worry, dear," Sarah whispered. "We all know the truth of what you did. Just focus on getting better, and we'll sort this out." Emily nodded gratefully, clinging to this small act of kindness like a lifeline. As she closed her eyes, exhausted by the day's events, she sent up a silent prayer for Lucas's recovery and for the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Dear viewers, we want to express our heartfelt gratitude for staying with us through this emotional roller coaster. Your unwavering support and engagement mean the world to us. As Emily and Lucas's story continues to unfold, we promise there are even more touching moments and unexpected twists ahead. We kindly ask you to stay tuned until the very end. Your dedication not only honors the character's journey but also inspires us to bring you more compelling stories that celebrate the human spirit. Thank you for being part of this incredible experience, and we look forward to sharing the rest of this remarkable tale with you. The following days were a blur of tension and uncertainty. Emily, still recovering from her procedure, spent every moment she could by Lucas's bedside, holding his hand and willing him to wake up. The steady beep of the heart monitor became her constant companion, a rhythmic reminder of the fragile thread holding Lucas to this world. Despite the hostility from Lucas's family, Emily refused to leave the hospital. She found unexpected allies in the hospital staff, who had witnessed her selfless act and stood by her in the face of the family's accusations. Sarah, the kind-hearted nurse, often brought Emily extra blankets and snacks, offering words of encouragement during the long, anxious nights. On the third day after the transplant, as Emily dozed in the uncomfortable chair beside Lucas's bed, she was startled awake by a slight pressure on her hand. Her eyes flew open to find Lucas looking at her, his eyes confused but unmistakably alert. "Lucas," Emily gasped, tears of relief streaming down her face. "You're awake. How do you feel?" Lucas blinked slowly, his voice hoarse as he whispered, "Emily, what happened? Why are you crying?" Before Emily could respond, the room burst into activity as doctors and nurses rushed in, alerted by the change in Lucas's vital signs. Dr. Winston quickly examined Lucas, his face breaking into a wide smile. "Mr. Lucas, welcome back," he said warmly. "You gave us quite a scare, but it seems the worst is behind us now." As the medical team checked Lucas's vitals and ran tests, Emily stood back, her heart overflowing with relief and joy. The nightmare of the past few days began to recede, replaced by a cautious hope for the future. However, their moment of peace was short-lived. The commotion had drawn the attention of Lucas's family, who quickly descended upon the room. Eloise pushed her way to the front, her eyes darting between Lucas and Emily. "Lucas, darling, you're awake," she exclaimed, shooting a venomous glare at Emily. "We've been so worried. Do you remember what happened? What this woman did to you?" Lucas's brow furrowed in confusion. "What are you talking about, Mother?" Emily saved my life." Eloise's face twisted in disbelief. "Saved your life? She nearly killed you. We're pressing charges against her for manipulation and elder abuse. She's after your money, can't you see that?" The accusation hung in the air, heavy and poisonous. Emily felt her heart sink, the joy of Lucas's recovery tainted by the harsh reality of the situation she now faced. But then, something unexpected happened. Lucas's expression hardened, and he struggled to sit up in his bed. "That's enough, Mother," he said, his voice weak but firm. "Emily has done nothing but show me kindness and compassion since the day we met. She refused my offer of marriage and inheritance, choosing instead to care for me and donate her bone marrow to save my life. If anyone here is concerned about money, it's not Emily." The room fell silent, all eyes on Lucas as he continued, his strength seemingly growing with each word. "I may have been ill, but I was never incapable of making my own decisions. Emily's presence in my life was my choice, and it's a choice I stand by. I won't allow you to persecute her for her selflessness." Eloise stood speechless, her carefully constructed accusations crumbling in the face of Lucas's unwavering support for Emily. The other family members shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact with both Lucas and Emily. Dr. Winston, sensing the tension, stepped in. "I think it's best if we give Mr. Lucas some time to rest. He's still recovering and needs a calm environment." As the family reluctantly filed out of the room, Lucas reached for Emily's hand. "I'm so sorry for what you've been through," he said softly. "Thank you for not giving up on me." Emily squeezed his hand, tears glistening in her eyes. "I would never give up on you, Lucas. We're in this together, remember?" Over the next few weeks, Lucas's recovery progressed steadily. With each passing day, he grew stronger, both physically and in his resolve to stand by Emily. He used his influence to ensure that all threats of legal action against her were dropped, much to his family's chagrin. As Lucas prepared to be discharged from the hospital, he and Emily had a heart-to-heart conversation about their future. "Emily," Lucas began, "you've given me a second chance at life and I don't intend to waste it. I want to use my resources to make a real difference in the world, just like you suggested when we first met. Will you help me do that?" Emily's face lit up with a bright smile. "Of course, Lucas, I'd be honored to help you create a legacy of kindness and generosity." As they left the hospital together, Emily and Lucas knew that their journey was far from over. They had weathered a storm of adversity, emerging stronger and more united than ever. The road ahead was uncertain, but they were ready to face it side by side, their unlikely friendship having blossomed into a powerful force for good in the world. In the months that followed Lucas's recovery, a remarkable transformation took place. The sprawling mansion that had once been a symbol of Lucas's isolated wealth became a hub of activity and hope. Emily and Lucas worked tirelessly to establish a foundation dedicated to helping those in need, particularly focusing on providing medical assistance to those who couldn't afford it. The grand ballroom, once used for lavish parties, was converted into a free clinic. The manicured gardens became a healing space for patients and their families. Every corner of the estate now served a purpose greater than mere luxury. Emily, with her first-hand experience of life on the streets, brought invaluable insight to their endeavors. She insisted on programs that not only provided immediate relief but also offered long-term support and opportunities for people to rebuild their lives. Lucas, energized by his second chance at life, threw himself wholeheartedly into their work. His business acumen, coupled with Emily's compassion and street smarts, proved to be a formidable combination. They attracted dedicated volunteers, skilled medical professionals, and generous donors who believed in their vision. One sunny afternoon, as Emily and Lucas sat on the terrace overlooking the bustling grounds of their foundation, Lucas turned to her with a smile. "You know, Emily, when I first made that crazy proposal to you on the street, I never imagined we'd end up here." Emily laughed, her eyes twinkling. "Life has a funny way of surprising us, doesn't it? I went from being homeless to helping run a multi-million-dollar charitable foundation. Sometimes I still can't believe it." Lucas reached out and squeezed her hand. "You've changed my life in ways I can't even begin to express. You gave me not just a second chance at living, but a reason to live." Their moment of reflection was interrupted by Sarah, the nurse who had been so kind to them during Lucas's hospital stay. She had become one of their most dedicated volunteers. "Sorry to interrupt," she said, "but the new family just arrived. They're waiting in the welcome center." Emily and Lucas exchanged a look of excitement. They had recently expanded their program to provide temporary housing for families of long-term patients, allowing them to stay close to their loved ones during treatment. As they made their way to the welcome center, they passed by the bustling clinic, the sound of children's laughter drifting from the newly installed playground. The sight filled both of them with a sense of pride and purpose. The family waiting for them, a young couple with 2 small children, looked tired and worried. The father was scheduled for a major surgery the following week, and they had traveled from across the country for his treatment. Emily stepped forward, her warm smile instantly putting the family at ease. "Welcome," she said softly. "We're so glad you're here. Let's get you settled in and then we can talk about how we can support you during your stay." As Emily led the family to their temporary home, Lucas watched her with admiration. Her natural empathy and ability to connect with people never ceased to amaze him. She had come so far from the homeless woman he had met on the street, yet her core of kindness and compassion remained unchanged. Later that evening, as they reviewed the day's events and planned for the future, Lucas proposed an idea. "Emily, I've been thinking. We've accomplished so much here, but there's still so much need in the world. What if we expanded our foundation? We could set up similar centers in other cities, maybe even other countries." Emily's eyes lit up at the prospect. "That would be amazing, Lucas. Think of how many more people we could help. But it's a huge undertaking. Are you sure you're up for it?" Lucas laughed, a sound full of joy and determination. "With you by my side, I'm up for anything. We make a great team, you and I." As they began to sketch out plans for their expanded vision, both Emily and Lucas felt a deep sense of fulfillment. They had taken an unexpected encounter on a city street and turned it into a force for good that was changing lives every day. Their story, born from a simple act of honesty and kindness, had blossomed into something neither of them could have imagined. It was a testament to the power of compassion, the strength of the human spirit, and the incredible things that can happen when people choose to see the best in each other. As night fell and the foundation grounds quieted, Emily and Lucas stood at the window, looking out at the world they had created together. The lights of the clinic glowed softly in the distance, a beacon of hope in the darkness. "You know," Emily said softly, "when I was living on the streets, I used to look at places like this and think they were so far out of reach. I never dreamed I'd be part of creating something like this." Lucas smiled, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "And I never dreamed that losing my wallet would lead to gaining so much more. We've both come a long way, haven't we?" As they stood there, comfortable in their shared silence, both Emily and Lucas knew that their journey was far from over. There would be challenges ahead, new obstacles to overcome, but together they were ready to face whatever came their way, armed with the knowledge that even the smallest act of kindness could change the world. As the sun rose on another day at the foundation, Emily stood at the window of her office, reflecting on the incredible journey that had brought her to this moment. The bustling grounds below were a testament to the power of compassion and the ripple effect of a single act of kindness. She thought back to that fateful day when she found Lucas's suitcase. At the time, she had been focused on survival, never imagining that her decision to return the money would lead to such profound changes in her life and the lives of countless others. Lucas joined her at the window, a warm smile on his face. "Penny, for your thoughts?" he asked gently. Emily turned to him, her eyes shining with emotion. "I was just thinking about how far we've come, from a chance encounter on the street to all of this." She gestured at the thriving foundation around them. Lucas nodded, understanding in his eyes. "It's remarkable, isn't it? How one small decision can change everything." As they watched volunteers and staff members begin their day, helping families and patients with care and compassion, Emily felt a surge of gratitude. "You know, Lucas, when I was living on the streets, I often felt invisible, like my existence didn't matter to anyone. But now we're making people feel seen and valued every day." Lucas squeezed her hand. "And it all started with you, Emily, your honesty and kindness that day. It didn't just change my life, it's changing the world, one person at a time." Their conversation was interrupted by a knock at the door. Sarah, now the head nurse of their clinic, entered with a bright smile. "Good morning. I thought you'd like to know that Mr. Johnson from last week's surgery is being discharged today. His family wanted to thank you both personally before they leave." As they made their way to the clinic, Emily and Lucas exchanged a look of quiet joy. These moments, seeing families reunited, witnessing the relief and happiness on their faces, were what made all their hard work worthwhile. The Johnson family was waiting for them in the lobby, their faces beaming with gratitude. Mrs. Johnson stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "We can't thank you enough for everything you've done. Without this foundation, we would have lost everything trying to pay for John's treatment. You've given us our lives back." Emily felt her own eyes welling up as she hugged Mrs. Johnson. "We're just glad we could help. That's what this place is all about, giving people hope and a chance to heal." As the Johnsons left, waving goodbye with promises to stay in touch, Emily and Lucas felt the weight of their responsibility and the joy of their purpose more keenly than ever. "You know," Lucas said thoughtfully as they walked back to their office, "when I was focused on making money, I thought I was building a legacy. But this, what we're doing here, this is a real legacy. One that will continue to touch lives long after we're gone." Emily nodded, her heart full. "It's funny how life works out, isn't it? We both started in such different places, but somehow we ended up exactly where we needed to be." As they reached their office, they paused for a moment, looking out at the foundation that had grown from their unlikely friendship. The clinic, the housing units, the support programs, each element was a piece of the vision they had built together. Emily Lucas said softly, "I want you to know how grateful I am, not just for saving my life, but for showing me what it means to truly live. You've taught me that real wealth isn't about money or possessions. It's about the lives we touch and the difference we make." Emily smiled, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "And you, Lucas, have shown me that one person really can change the world. That kindness and compassion are more powerful than any adversity." As they stood there, partners in purpose and friends in the truest sense of the word, both Emily and Lucas knew that their journey was far from over. There would be more challenges to face, more lives to touch, more good to do. But together, they were ready for whatever lay ahead. Their story, born from a simple act of honesty on a busy city street, had blossomed into something beautiful and transformative. It was a testament to the power of human connection, the strength of the human spirit, and the incredible things that can happen when we choose to see the best in each other. As the day unfolded around them, Emily and Lucas stepped forward, ready to continue their work, to keep building their legacy of kindness, one life at a time. For they had learned the most valuable lesson of all, that in the end, it's not about what we have, but about what we give. And in giving, they had found the truest riches of all. Dear viewers, we hope Emily and Lucas's journey has touched your hearts as much as it has touched ours. Their story reminds us of the profound impact a single act of kindness can have, and the incredible power we all possess to make a difference in the world. We'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings about this story. What moments resonated with you the most? How has it inspired you in your own life? Please share your reflections in the comments below. Your feedback not only means the world to us, but also helps us create more meaningful content for you. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support is the driving force behind our passion for storytelling, motivating us to bring you more heartwarming tales that celebrate the beauty of the human spirit. Thank you for being part of our journey, and we look forward to sharing many more inspiring stories with you in the future.